What is up, everybody? My name is Clark, and this is
William.
What's
up, buddy?
Hey.
How are you doing?
It's been a little while. Hello, everybody who is, everyone that's watching from wherever you're at. We are Team Reverb. We're based in the Cleveland, Chattanooga, Tennessee area. Our office is downtown Chattanooga. We were asked by our amazing friends at CO.LAB to host a virtual workshop.
Virtual webinar,
event,
something like that,
to help you hold your very best as possible virtual event for Startup Week.
Yeah, it's coming up. It's not that far away.
It is
right?
just a couple of weeks away,
yeah.
And I don't even know if it's that far away. It's coming up really soon, and we wanted to share with you everything we know. Everything.
And not everything.
Okay, but we're gonna box it into 7 steps.
7 practical, easy steps.
Practical steps that will help you host a successful virtual event, in particular at Startup Week in Chattanooga, which we've been a part of at some level for years, whether it's hosting an event or working the event. We are huge fans of Startup Week, and this year just slightly different.
Yeah, just a little bit. So before we go in, why should anyone listen to anything that you have to say?
That is an amazing question.
Like, how long have you been in the virtual event space?
Well, we've been doing virtual events probably since back in the late 2010-ish area, but this year is on steroids.
Yeah.
Like this year, virtual events have been all we've done, almost all we've done. We've done some in-person events. The beginning of the year was exciting. By the way, I should tell you, Reverb is a event company, media company.
Yeah.
So
we've been doing for a little while.
That's what we've been doing for a little while. So pre-pandemic, we were traveling and going to events and making events look great online. And we ran into a wall in March, just like everybody else did. And we've had an incredibly insane year as we've pivoted. I heard the word is going away. You can't use the word anymore.
I believe I've read a few tweets saying you're not allowed to say pivot anymore. That's why it's been overused this year.
That's why I hesitated using the word pivot. And we've pivoted in 2020 to do a lot of virtual events like you're seeing right now. We're going to unpack some of the things we've learned. Again, 7 of them. There's many more, but hopefully they'll position you for success with this upcoming event. So how about we level the playing field?
Dive in. Let's
level the playing field.
Share all your knowledge with the world.
We're going to share what we've learned this year, especially this year. So let's level the playing field. There's one thing we know is that your organization thrives and your organization survives because of the right personnel and revenue. Yeah. You got to have the right team. Yeah. Right. And you have to make revenue. You have to generate revenue. I don't care if you're a nonprofit or you're a for-profit or you're a solopreneur that just talks into cameras like this, right? Yeah. You have to somehow have revenue to survive, unless you have won the lottery or something amazing. That's
just an alt form of revenue. At the end of the day, money makes the world go round.
You spent money, you bought a ticket, and you made money. So you've got to have revenue. And if you're a team, you're an organization, maybe you're a company or a business or a startup, you have to have the right team as well. Even if you're in the nonprofit space, you survive because of generosity of both time and money. But 2020 problems, right? COVID has either canceled or completely virtualized many of your events, leaving you feeling a bit
overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Really overwhelmed.
A lot of our clients this year have called us almost gasping for air.
Yeah.
Like just 100%. Frustrated, like pulling their hair out. I don't know what to do. I don't know who to call. Yeah. I have to have this virtual event. We need money. We need revenue. We need volunteer. We have to stay in front of our people this year. And that's been really.
You said we ran into a brick wall in March. I would say that's true. And then 2 weeks later, a ton of bricks fell on us because we had to help so many people with virtual events so quickly. I mean, hitting the end of March, we were already into like 3 to 5 virtual events just by the end of that month. And then throughout the rest of the year, that's almost exclusively what we've done.
It's been incredible. And we've had a great year. We've had a very hard year. Some people could look at what we've done as a company and say, oh, they made it. They survived. I would say we survived barely. We survived by holding on for dear life as virtual events became a thing. So if I had to guess about you, you're probably a specialist in live events. If you've ever held live events before, you're probably a communicator or a speaker. Many of you have gone on to stages and platforms and spoken in front of a lot of people, but you're probably not as well-versed or is experienced, if I'm assuming, which we know what that does, in platforms like virtual platforms, maybe in copywriting. You're probably not as experienced with cameras, chats, adapters, lighting. I mean, what else? Like, those are some of the key things, but people aren't as experienced in the technical.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have a client actually that held many events throughout a year. This organization actually, I think 30 to 40% of their organization was dedicated to just events. And then post-COVID or into COVID, in an effort not to let people go, which is an amazing thing, their entire in-person events team basically switched over to a digital events team, an online platform team. And the learning curve was super sharp. And I think it was super sharp because the way you do things in live events are just drastically different than the way you would do things in virtual events. All the way from the platforms, but all the way up to the programming and how you're going to run it.
And
that
the
you
words
would feel like would transition. Words programming, you think those things would go hand in hand with how you would traditionally do it. You just have to, you know, put a camera instead of put a people in front of them. But that's not the case, right?
The best way I've described it, I think this year, to you and to our team and to our friends and family, when they're like, how did you guys figure it out this year? When I'm like, basically, we were kind of like plumbers and we had to become electricians. There's both are involved in the building of a house, right?
Absolutely.
Both are involved in sustaining a house, but it's very different wirings, no pun intended, very different mental wirings that you had. We had to just go, we're used to plumbing, but we all of a sudden got to be really great electricians. And in a way, you're feeling that pressure where you're at, most likely. And as you see the GIF here, just don't panic, okay? Hosting a successful virtual event in 2019, you got some Steve Harvey there. And in 2020, it's a little bit different in 2020, just a little bit. So if Steve Harvey was experiencing this is probably what it would look like. So the truth is, rewiring your virtual event doesn't have to be overly complicated. Doesn't have to be overcomplicated. And here's the opportunity. You have an opportunity to slow down and clarify your message. One way our mentor, our company, we're Story Brand certified as an agency, as a company. And we'll talk about that this morning a little bit. But we want to eradicate confusion as to why you exist, why your product, why your startup, why you as a person, when it comes to what you're offering the world, why do you exist, and why customers should buy or donate to your thing, right? What is key, Will? There's a word, and I'm going to give you a hint. It's right there on the screen if you can read it. What is key?
Clarity.
Clarity. Clarity. Clarity is key because if you confuse, you lose. Let's say it again for the people in the back. If you confuse, you lose. What does that mean? We're going to unpack that in a few minutes. But here's the deal. One of the benefits of being at an in-person live event is that people are forced to pay attention to you. Because peer-to-peer pressure, you're not supposed to be on your phone. You're not supposed to be talking to the person next to you. Like when you're at a table and you're at a fundraising event or you're at any kind of event, you're kind of pressured to be like looking and trying to pay attention. But right now, if I had to guess, there's probably people on their phone that are watching, that are sitting here scrolling the Instagram.
You can get away with a lot more in an in-person event. And the reality of the situation is when I'm joining from a computer, the dog's barking, the baby needs to be fed if you got kids.
So true.
Your wife or husband is texting you, your boss is texting you.
Or if you're like me, you're sitting on the front porch and cars are driving by.
You're waving at the mailman as they come by. Your computer is just sending you endless notifications from Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, news. It's outrageous.
It's outrageous. So in other words, you have to be crystal clear because people are going to tune out. And this next slide is one of my favorites. During a virtual event, like we just said, you are already at a disadvantage because you lose the peer pressure to pay attention. Your guest might be mowing the lawn. I actually did this earlier this year. I had my AirPods in and I was listening to an event while mowing the lawn.
I believe it.
I don't think anybody sitting in your audience at a live event is out there mowing the lawn in the back. Back row.
Of course not. But it's easy to multitask. I was talking with a buddy in the industry over the weekend, actually. And one of the things he was saying is, the most virtualized event that happened the quickest was church. Churches had to connect with their people, so they went online every single weekend. And he was talking about how it's so easy to just default and like you have it on in the background. But he literally told me, he goes, dude, we had to like wash our couch covers. So I was like taking off my couch covers while church was happening. And then like I had to queue some Dropbox uploads. So like I went to my computer to do that. So like I was paying attention. It was there, but at the end of the day, like I wasn't actually zoned in.
Yep. So
it's just so easy.
The point is clarity and attention. This is one of my funniest.
Well, let's connect those real quick. Clarity leads to
attention.
Absolutely. Clarity at the end of the day is taking what could be done in a long form and really shortening it and making it as effective, as efficient as possible to get people to zone in as quickly as possible.
It's never been more important. And the burden, I hate to put burdens on people, but I feel it. I'm carrying it. Like even right now, even preparing for this webinar, the burden of holding your attention has to do with me remembering where you are in your seat at your desk, wherever you're at today. It's important that I understand where you're at because it's going to change and shape the words. So let's get to the number one as ambulance passes us, if you can hear it. Number one step out of, we're going to go through 7 steps today. This first one, by the way, is going to be the longest. We're going to really, really dig into this because we believe that the words are the most important part of your virtual event. They should be the most important part of your live event.
Absolutely.
But we're going to talk about how they're the most important part of your virtual event. And you have to understand the extreme value of words.
Yeah.
Before you get into event technology and programming, you need to get back to the basics of writing because words are far more important than any technology solution for a virtual event. And I'm sitting next to our director of production right here. And if he doesn't agree with me, then we'll get along. But it's okay. Words and tech are not even close. If you have the budget, you explain what I mean here, Will.
Here's the thing. So many people are quick to freak out and say, all right, like logistically, how are we going to make this happen? And then they try to copy and paste what they were doing in person into a virtual event. And probably what they were doing in person already wasn't that effective and efficient. It only was effective because you physically had people within 12 feet of you. And so they're quick to just try to copy and paste what's going on into some digital solution. And it compounds the negative at the end of the day. It makes what was already not great way worse. And so what switching to a virtual event can do if you're doing it effectively is it can cause a reset for you. You can essentially go back to the foundational level. What am I trying to do in an event? Well, ultimately speaking, you're trying to communicate with people to get them to purchase your product, donate money, or donate time. If you're a not-for-profit, it's a lot of donating time. You're trying to connect with people and get them to give to you. And the way that you do that fundamentally is
through
words. Now, let's talk about how those dots connect there really quickly because like I like the tech things and I like cameras.
And they do connect. They absolutely do connect.
At the end of the day, all of those things cost money. And so for me to get paid to do that and then for me to have the resources all costs money. And if you're not being able to effectively communicate with people to get them to buy your product, the money doesn't go around. Ultimately, it never trickles down to the correct department.
Such a good point.
It doesn't make it past payroll.
What we're saying is if you want to have more money to buy virtual event equipment, you need to get your words right first. Don't go buy equipment first.
Absolutely.
Get your words right, then you'll make money, and then you'll be able to buy some nice microphones and some lighting.
It is ultimately the key to growing any organization.
Such a good point. I should have made. I'm going to put that in my slide next time. That's a great point. I'll draw a little diagram of a circle. Okay. Without clear words, no one will understand why they need or want to do business with you. And I know if you're a nonprofit, you're like, well, I'm not doing business. Yes, you are. You're doing business with someone's time and someone's money to donate, right? So if you don't have a crystal clear proposition in words, no one will understand why they need to work with you. That's incredibly important. People rarely follow the best leaders. Instead, they often follow the leaders who can communicate the clearest.
Absolutely.
And I don't want to get into politics today, but it's true in branding. It's true in leadership. People just don't follow the best leaders. I'm going to go a little bit backwards. If you can even remember through the politics lens, back pre Donald Trump into like the Jeb Bush, Hillary Clinton, the other people that were involved before Donald Trump became president. Can you remember, can you write down what Jeb Bush wanted to do as president?
You know, I've been meaning to, since I've heard you do this so many times, I've been meaning to go and Google what his campaign, and I have yet to do it. So the answer is unfortunately still no.
The fact that you would have to Google it 100%. Is part of the problem.
100%.
Hillary, and this is a little shout out to the Hillary documentary on Hulu. You need to go watch it. It is mind-bendingly awesome. But what did Hillary want to do with America? I think she had a forward icon. But what does forward mean? It's not crystal clear. And I want to make a point here in just a second. Even though Donald Trump won in 2016, he wanted to do what with America?
He wanted to make it great again.
Yeah, he wanted to make it great again. And what's missing this year, and it's why I personally believe he's up against the forces of communication, even more than maybe some of us would want to recognize, maybe, is that he does not have a clear message going forward. I do not know, and he does not know. He has not said publicly. He doesn't have a red trucker hat with what's going on in 2021, right? He doesn't have that because Make America Great was what happened last time. So it's like, keep America great, make America. It's just confusing. So I think that's one of the, I know there are many arguments, right?
Absolutely.
As to say why he is behind in the polls right now. Polls, okay, I get it. Some of you, polls aren't real. Okay, that's okay. But he seems to be behind. I think it's because he doesn't have a crystal clear message. I'm getting smiles all around this room, and I'm really nervous right now. So maybe I should move on.
Love or hate politics.
Love or hate politics.
At the end of the day, no one thought Donald Trump was going to win the last election going into it. Everyone kind of laughed.
Crystal clear message.
He had a really clear campaign. Love or hate him. Love or hate how it went down. He
crystal clear.
The person that no one thought would win ended up
crystal
winning.
Clear. Not the best leader, the clearest communicator.
Sure, absolutely.
And same thing happened with Barack Obama. Barack Obama wasn't necessarily he didn't have the most experience in leadership, but what did he run on? I don't know if you can remember. What was his key message?
We've done this a few times. Barack Obama wanted to, what was it?
Hope.
Yeah.
And change.
Yeah, change. That was the main one.
Hope and
change.
Hope
was the underlying concept.
Hope,
change was
the
concept.
So when he got in front of people, one of the things he said was, yes, we can.
Yeah.
And hope and change were the crystal clear messages that he left with. Okay, so I'm going to move past politics real quick. Okay. And so that people that jumped out of here don't go. Anyways, people don't necessarily buy the best. They don't buy the things and the products that are best. They buy the products that are the clearest. Have you ever gone to a website and the website was just like made your head spin, even though you heard from your friend that it was the best backpack? Typically, you're going to buy the best backpack or the best shaving gear piece.
Clark just got a new backpack, which is why his mind's on backpacks.
Got a new backpack. You buy the product that is laid out the clearest on the website, that is most compelling through video, through words, and usually video even includes words, right? So people buy the products that are the clearest and the ones that you can understand the fastest.
Absolutely.
Would you think that there's ever an exception to that? It's pretty rare.
Well, so I mean, if you look at like our digital age, we have a wealth of information always at our fingertips. We could go do the research to find the absolute best item, whether it's a backpack, a razor, whatever it is, for our current lives. Like we could 100% go do that. But what do? We typically either get swayed by an ad on Instagram, a friend tells us about something and why it's awesome, or we do a quick Google search that literally says best insert products here. And then the first thing to convince us on the Google results are the ones that pull us in.
That's right.
We could go through the hundreds and hundreds of pages in Google to find that very niche one that fits our needs perfectly. But that takes time, that takes energy, and something earlier on really convinced us really quickly using words, whether it was through advertising on a graphic, through a video, through copy on a website, something convinced us early on.
Yeah, and as you're sitting there talking, I thought about a razor, for example, and I know that's, I guess razors are universal. When you're looking to buy a razor, and if you just see an image of a razor, no words, are you going to buy that razor?
Probably
not. You're going to buy the razor that has words that describe. Don't cut
with the
you.
Pad that helps soothe your skin.
The words are why I buy that particular razor, not the image of the razor. And so that's the whole point of how that's really part of the point of why the words are so important in clear words. It might be the best razor on the planet, but without words, I don't know why I should buy it, right? Continuing with this, people buy products. This is so key. screenshot this. Totally give credit to Donald Miller and StoryBrand. People buy products only after they read, and I added this word, or hear the words that make them want to buy those products. Will, I have a Jeopardy level question for you.
Oh no.
But I'm not doing it the correct way because I should make the answer and you're supposed to say, so just forget that example. But it's a really, really hard question. Okay. Will, how much do words cost?
Words are free.
Words cost nothing.
Absolutely. People spend a lot of money getting coached on words sometimes, and that can be the most valuable investment you can make as a company. But ultimately, it's just spending time investing in the right words for your right organization.
Absolutely foundational for your virtual event that you invest in words, because they are the least expensive piece of the entire equation. From time to time, leaders like you know that you need some help with marketing. And what do you do first? You contact a web person, or you go to your web team and you're like, we need a new website that looks good. And you don't do the hard work of writing out the words first, right? It's beautiful. The website looks so nice, and I just keep refreshing it, and it looks so good. Oh, it gives me chill bumps. Look how beautiful the website is. And then the problem is your sales don't go up, right? Yeah. And here's why: the person who designed that website, they have a degree in design, or they understand aesthetic. They're an artist, but not all of them, but many of them don't understand words first over design. And in the daily grind, people like me and you, and those of you who are listening, we forget this core principle. And so we're going to say it again for the people in the back. People buy products only after they read or hear the words that make them want to buy those products. So clear communication. Yep. Clear communication really matter. Words matter. So in order to really unpack the right words, and how do you get there? And I remember we're on step one today, but I told you this is going to be probably the longest thing we unpack.
It's the
most important. We have to understand how the human brain works. And there's two key things. This comes from StoryBrand, Donald Miller. He took this from ancient storytelling principles and filmmaking, and he has narrowed some of these philosophies down into one. But what is the first thing, Will, that the human brain is trying?
First thing that the human brain is trying to do: survive, at a foundational archaic level. Like if you go backwards in history, at the end of the day,
we don't even know it, but we're trying to survive.
Absolutely.
And it's always running in the back of our mind. How do we survive? And not the back of our mind. It's like working for us. I don't remember the scientific word for it, but it's always working in the background. Survive and thrive. The human brain is actually tasked with keeping us alive. And if you understand Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you can understand this a little better. And the second thing the human brain is trying to do is what?
Second thing the human brain is trying to do.
Something that you did in Florida in a CrossFit gym. You actually were trying to burn them, but the brain wants to conserve them.
Conserve the calories.
The human brain knows that if it burns too many calories processing information, your brain feels like its survival is being threatened.
Absolutely.
And so most of you know.
Did you hear that? My survival is being threatened when I work out.
It is.
Yeah.
That's true. And so that's why that's why you haven't done it since then, right?
I know. That's why.
I haven't done it either. But I've run some. The longer you keep talking about how many years ago you started your company, or your grandfather started it, or your terrific place to work, or the fact that you're going to double your revenue this year, and the fact that you have the best quarter you've ever had, people on the other side of that conversation are going, how is this helping me survive? And it's not helping you survive. So what do? You
tune out. Ultimately, it doesn't matter to you. And so if something doesn't matter to you, you have zero incentive, except for maybe just being like a really good human being, to actually tune in and listen. And quite frankly, most of us aren't actually that good of human beings.
It's true.
We pretend to listen because we want to appear like we care.
We're out.
But our brain's on something else. It's on your to-do list for later today. It's on what you're going to eat for dinner tonight. Like you're not focusing on what's happening because it doesn't directly tie to a problem that you have.
That's exactly. He's setting us up for the next section of this. But before we get there, you have got to remember what people are thinking about and caring about. And that is not how long you've been in existence or how good your organization is doing. People are focused on what matters to them. Did you know the average human brain spends 30% of its day daydreaming. It's a survival mechanism because your brain wants to conserve those calories to be used when you're on a webinar like this and you're having to use a ton of brain
information
power.
that could help you.
Absolutely.
Like you want to save energy for that.
And here's what happens. You go throughout your day and your brain is going in the background. I don't need this information. I'm checking out. And so probably many of you who can see this GIF here, GIF
for sure.
Okay.
This isn't peanut butter, man.
You understand this feeling that you're seeing the guys falling on the floor. I love talking about this. Have you ever presented at a meeting and you leave work and you're absolutely exhausted and you did no strenuous physical activity whatsoever? Your Apple Watch or something keeps dinging and telling you to stand up. You've done nothing, but you feel exhausted. And that is because your brain is a calorie burning factory. Dude,
let's like modernize this to currently what's going on.
Yep.
After you have a day full of Zoom sessions.
I knew you were going to say Zoom.
After you have a day full of Zoom meetings, you get to the end and you want to just die.
Literally.
Because you're so freaking tired. But you literally sat at an ergonomically adjusted freaking computer chair the entire day.
You did nothing.
You were the human from what's the Wall-E? Like you're the humans up in the space station from Wall-E, just sitting there shoving Cheetos in your mouth, doing nothing. But it's because your brain had to work all day in overtime to try to connect with the 8 squares on the screen and try to actually pay attention to the 3 different people.
You know, you're just looking at yourself, though, right?
Oh, 100%. 100%. That's why you have to make it to where you're in the top middle square. So you can just stare at yourself and it actually looks like you're looking into the camera.
You know that you've done it before.
100%.
And if we were on Zoom right now, you would be doing the same thing. So that is so important. You have to understand where people's minds are. Most people go to your websites, your marketing collateral, and it's so confusing, they peace out. Or they come to your event, they tune into your virtual workshop, and they peace out. And they're not paying attention because they don't have the brain power to stay engaged. Their brain is like, I need this space to think about bills or family or what I have to do this afternoon or the videos we have to create today. And so we tune out. There's often too much info in our virtual events, too much talking about ourselves, too much talking in circles. And so brains just get fatigued. And before we know it, they're checked out. And what happens? We lose. We're asking people to burn too many calories in order to understand how our virtual event is going to help them survive and thrive. So important. So the key takeaway before we get to point number 2 is, if we're just going to repeat this, we've said it already. If you confuse,
you lose.
And you can't afford to lose people or confuse people. It doesn't have to be this way. And if you clarify your message, customers and your audience will listen.
It's a foundational principle to effectively running your organization.
Absolutely.
And it translates into virtual events, but it affects literally everything from how you communicate to your internal employees to how you communicate to your potential customer. If I have to work to figure out how you can help me, ultimately I'm going to leave.
Yeah. And in an effort not to go in circles and to make this a very quick point, the reason why it's so important for your virtual event is because people are consuming your virtual event just like this in distracting situations. They are not in the room with you. They're on their front porch. They're driving in their car. You have to be even more clear because they are distracted. That should be a slide. All right. Number 2, clearly define organizational objectives and wins. Will, have you noticed how important this is? Like, most people go into events and they're like, well, my boss said do it. We always do an event. Why are you doing this? What's the objective? What's the win?
We go into so many events now, so many projects, and ultimately anytime we're working with an organization, the first question that's asked now is, what does success look like to you? What does success look like to your bosses who are ultimately kicking the check to us in order to help you do this? And it's just so drastically important because no one can win if the ultimate authority can't actually put out what a win looks like. That's like a leadership principle right there. But how it affects virtual events so much is that if you don't have a clear objective, you get to the end of it and everyone looks at each other and goes, was that good? Was that bad? Were we trying to get thousands of viewers? Were we trying to get 20? It felt good. It felt good. Were we trying to get 20% transaction over into donations? Were we trying, like, what were we doing? What were we attempting to do? And then you can have a measuring stick for success or not. So then you can say either, yes, this succeeded, or, and we kind of missed the mark. But without that clear, refined goal post, ultimately speaking, you have no idea if it was a success.
If it was successful or not. And this is a big failure point for many virtual events. And beyond the failure point, I think it's important that each of you take the time to do this, because you're not running to site visits this year. You're not booking hotel rooms. You're not working on flights. You're pretty much dedicated. If you run a virtual event or you're preparing for Startup Week, your focus is not on how do I get to Chattanooga and what's the room I'm going to be in. Your focus is your computer and the technology and the words being most important. And this year you could take that extra time and go back and survey the CEO, survey the marketing director, go ask the people that are in the seats that are important when it comes to objectives and wins. Take that time that you would have booked a hotel room, take the time you would have gone on a site visit to sit down with them and ask these questions. And guess what the boss or the CEO or the marketing director is going to do? They're going to go, you're asking the what?
The right question?
The right question.
Absolutely.
That's going to help you, and that's going to help your organization. And the second part of that is, what are the key wins? Sales, followers, subscribers, engagement. One of the events that we worked, I don't know, in the last 12 months or so, they had a key metric, and that was, we didn't sell any tickets at the event before, but we're going to bring you guys in to do this to help us. And they sold over 10 tickets to their next event, but those tickets were thousands of dollars. And our cost was far lower than that.
Way lower. High barrier to entry per ticket for this. And so while 10 doesn't necessarily seem like a big number for the right event, 10 is the make or break for that.
Absolutely. And it was a smaller event. It wasn't a huge stadium event. And so the point is, like, they had the metrics and they were able to go, oh my gosh. And guess what? We're still a client.
Absolutely.
A year and quite
almost 2.
Yeah.
My favorite way to phrase the question is ultimately whenever you're talking to the authority, whenever you're talking to the decision maker, saying, if nothing else happens, what's the one thing that'll help you walk away?
It's so hard for people to find
smiling, help you walk away in success.
But once you define that, people walk away and go, yes.
We were at a planning session this past week for an event, and we put a bunch of goals up on the board, and there were 8 of them, I think. 8 goals are great, but ultimately at the end of the day, what's the one thing that if this happens, it was a success for this event?
And even digging a little deeper on this, what's important to the stakeholders or the people who write the check? Because what's important to us in marketing and media may not be important to the person signing the checks or the person setting the vision. So we could come up with our own. This is why I'm saying do a survey with the key stakeholders, because you can come up with what in your mind is an objective. And I wrote out some objectives yesterday for a nonprofit, and I was like, listen, I told the director of schools at this organization, I was like, listen, I don't know if these are your objectives. These are mine, but I need them to align with yours. And I'm going to mark out the ones that don't align, so that at the end of the day, when everybody packs up and reviews the work, the CEO, director level person goes, yep, I told you that was the goal, and you nailed it. Otherwise, you're going to just be swimming upstream, and it's going to be annoying.
Yeah, man. That's been our biggest success in having return events, is when we, instead of trying to please the marketing director, we said, hey, what's going to make you look good to your direct report?
So clearly define organizational objectives and wins. Number 3, clearly define the wants and the aspirations of your audience.
There's a lot of clearlies.
I know. Do you clearly see the point? Clarity is key, because if you confuse, you lose. So huge mistakes that we see is not identifying what your audience really wants. So if you're speaking at Startup Week, for example, or whatever event you're communicating at in the future, if you can't identify, and we'll get to the next point, which is understanding it. If you can't at least identify what they want or aspire to become, you're not going to connect, especially on a virtual event. If people start to drift, it's because you're not talking to what they want.
Absolutely.
And you also have to truly understand the DNA of that want. Like, what are the motivations behind that want? What are they trying to become? What are they aspiring to be? And then thirdly, not clearly articulating the want with words that attract and create action. Those are 3 big mistakes that we see with many events. Like, they're like, oh, I know what my customer wants. And then you get and you look at their script and you look at their words, and you're like, they're not even talking about the want.
Let's superhumanize this. When you're trying to clearly understand and see a success come out of that that clarity, Think about relationships.
Yep.
At the end of the day,
exactly. Oh gosh,
relationships that
Pushing
you don't
buttons.
have a mutual understanding of each other's goals and desires.
How's that going to go?
It's going to fail.
It's going to fail.
You have to have clarity and be on the exact same page for there to be success in that relationship.
So
Otherwise, it's going to end. You guys aren't working effectively together.
Yeah.
You're not giving me what I want. I'm not giving you what you want.
And you have to not only identify, understand, but you also have to communicate the
Absolutely.
want. You have to get very clear so that people will lean in and listen to you. So you can't just talk about a want for 30 minutes because then people are gone. You have to clearly articulate the want so that people lean in and listen. Without putting serious energy into this step, you will miss an opportunity to connect, like Will just said, with your virtual audience, which is way harder to do than an in-person audience.
It's all like internet dating, dude.
Well, I don't know much about it.
Way harder to connect.
I don't know anything about it. I have to ask all the kids. So what's the website that you go on that for? Okay, so just some examples of this. Will gave a very human story. I'm going to give you some brand examples of this. At Reverb, we know that you want to be influential online, which often happens when great events look great online. So gotta look good online, right? At Home Depot, I'm just a Home Depot fan because my favorite color is orange.
You don't like Lowe's?
I used to like Lowe's.
Ace?
Lowe's. I go to Ace.
Okay.
They have their benefits.
But Home Depot.
But Home Depot.
See, I love the Husky brand, so that's why I'm all into Home Depot.
Absolutely. The Husky. Yeah, you do. You have Husky cases over there,
dude,
don't you?
I got Husky desks, Husky workbenches, everything.
What does Will want?
I want Husky
cases. At Home Depot, they know that their online audience, let's speak very directly to their online audience. They want home improvement content that inspires them to have a more beautiful yard or a more beautiful home. And so Home Depot understands that online, our customers want to be inspired. So their online voice, if you just go search their socials, you go search their YouTube channel, you're going to see that Home Depot knows what their audience wants. Yeah. They understand it and they know how to speak directly to it. Lastly, just bear with me on this one. An online Instagram fitness influencer knows that his or her audience wants to look what? Great. They want to feel
awesome with their shirt off.
They want to feel great. And so if you scroll Instagram or if you type in fitness influencer, no, not fitness, just type in fitness expert.
There you go.
You will see thousands of influencers who understand that their customer just wants to look good. So they put out content, food and visual that touches the heart of the want of the audience. Okay, great. Let's move on because I'm sure those GIFs that you're watching are very distracting.
Getting overwhelming.
Especially the two-person push-up that's happening there. Number 4, thank you for bearing with us so far. I hope you've made it this far and hope this is helpful. I know this is helpful because it's helped us and it's helped our clients. Number 4, rewire or rewrite the event program. Is this important?
We talked about it a little bit earlier. Ultimately speaking, you can't copy and paste what you did in person to online because what you did on person was tailored to attention spans that were in the room. It was tailored to people physically being there and that sort of engagement. And if you try to do it, you're gonna have a crash and burn situation. It's gonna happen. And I think we saw that a lot.
We've seen it
at the beginning of this year.
We had to fight a lot of people.
So many people wanted to just say, no, we're gonna keep exactly what we had planned.
Churches.
Just put up some cameras.
Churches.
Right?
Churches.
And it doesn't work.
We love the church, by the way.
Awesome. One of my theories as to why it really, really doesn't work is because of, quite frankly, how short our attention span is when it comes to digital. And so while I might be really happy to take in the 30-minute message if I'm going to church on a Sunday, if I'm on Instagram, man, I want that 30-second to 60-second soundbite. And the reality is I can't even sit through that 60-second soundbite unless you give me the one-line zinger on the front end, and then that hooks me. You need something else in this digital and virtual landscape.
So one thing we're not going to get into very, I guess, in depth today is the word problem. And we're going to touch on it right here. But you need to create an event program that revolves around the problems that you solve for your audience. And so if you look at what we are talking about today, you'll probably see a thread that we're talking a lot about problems, because we know that if we help you solve your virtual event problems, you will lean in and listen, and you won't jump on your phone and go to Instagram for the next 15 minutes or 30 minutes or 40 minutes.
Whoa.
This is getting long there.
Much longer.
So
it's because it helps me survive.
It helps me survive. And here's, this is so frustrating. I've been to so many events, both virtual and in person. They just talk about themselves and how good we're doing, and how many things we're doing in the community, or how many awards we've won, or what.
Dude, I was on a call yesterday with a non-for-profit in Chattanooga, and one of the things we talked about fairly in depth on the call was that your whole program for this thing you want to do can't be talking about how you help the community. You have to be talking about how you can help other people who care help the community. It might be through you. You might be the method of success, but you can't just be talking about how your organization helps people.
No, you can't. No one really buys a product, Will, unless the company is specifically solving a problem that the customer has. And you can like, one time I said that and people were like, I disagree. And I was like, how do you disagree? Like, do you go to McDonald's unless you're hungry? That's a terrible example.
It's an awful example.
I love their chicken nuggets.
You were talking about wanting to look good with your shirt off two slides ago, and now we're on
so
McDonald's.
I don't go to Zoe's Kitchen. There we go. The Zoe's Kitchen, or something healthy. Smoothie King. I need a smoothie so bad right now. I don't go there unless they solve a problem. I go to Smoothie King, perfect example, because I get a very, very clean, healthy smoothie every day. Because I don't want to die. I don't want to have a heart attack because I know what I was eating at lunch, and now I'm eating McDonald's.
And McDonald's solved the problem of your satisfaction.
This is true. Right.
You wanted that double burger.
No, what does McDonald's solve? Quick, fast, convenient food, right?
Yeah, that tastes good.
It tastes good. Oh,
I'm not saying it actually tastes good, but like,
we got to move on. We got to move on because we're about to go into this world of you get the point, right? So no one's going to buy anything from you. Amazon, you don't go on Amazon unless you don't have time to go to the store. I don't have time to go to the store, so I'm going to go on Amazon. They're going to ship it to me. I don't have to do anything except for click that buy now button. I don't have to, or check out now. What is it?
Buy now.
What's the one that's like rapid fast? Like you don't have to go through
quick checkout.
Quick checkout.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. Will is right. He knows all the technology. So I only buy a product when I know it solves a problem. And maybe I don't even know it solves a problem. It just makes it easy for me. Yeah. Right? Okay. Going back to Home Depot, let's go to Lowe's.
Lowe's.
Okay.
Lowe's doesn't have Husky. I don't think we can go to Lowe's.
Okay, let's go to Ace Hardware. Okay. I don't go to Ace Hardware to buy water sprinklers unless my grass is turning brown, right?
Or you're concerned about your grass turning brown and you want to make sure it doesn't.
Yep. I don't go to Ace Hardware because they have the newest technology. Yeah. I don't go there because they have the nicest people per se.
Sure.
I go there because I need something. I need to solve a problem. Now, if you are a very community-minded person and Ace Hardware is your local Ace, Ace is the place, the helpful hardware store. That was really good.
That was good.
No, it wasn't. I might go to Ace because maybe it's more locally owned than Home Depot is.
That solves a problem.
That solves a problem though, because I want to support my local. My
local community isn't being supported enough. Yep. That's an issue.
That's an issue.
I want to fix that by shopping local. I want to fix that.
That's right.
Sometimes even when the products aren't as good.
That's true. They don't have Husky.
They don't have Husky.
You don't go to a 4-hour baseball game, especially Will, unless you need some entertainment or quality time with friends. So the baseball game is solving your need to be with friends, right? You don't watch a 1-hour webcast virtual workshop. What are we doing? Webinar?
Let's call it a webinar.
Well, you don't watch one of these unless you have a problem that you need solved, right?
Which is can't put on a virtual event.
Right.
Let's figure out how.
Okay. Let's move on past the problems. But you can learn way more about problems and why it's important, the psychological journey. Number 5, invite and coach presenters who can stay on message. And what key element that we've talked about so much today make up your message?
The problems and solutions.
And the words.
There you go.
The message is full of words, which are problems and solutions, right?
Absolutely.
So you have to create an event program around problems you solve for your audience, not how great you are. I, for some reason, didn't change that slide, and I apologize. The entire point of this was you have to make sure your presenters are absolutely on message. People are showing up to your event because they are looking for direction and solutions to problems they're facing.
Yeah.
And if your presenters aren't in alignment, oh my gosh, we've seen this so many times. If your presenters aren't in alignment with your brand message, how quickly will your audience go away?
Oh, I mean, instantly.
They're done.
I mean, think about if I want to listen to the How I Built This podcast, which talks to me about how to grow
an amazing
small businesses.
Guy, the guy.
Guy Raz, right?
Guy Raz, yeah.
Yeah. And if I log into that podcast, because that's what I'm there for, and all of a sudden they start talking about why shopping local is so important, I'm out instantly. Sometimes, even if it's just an ad on the front end, I'm like, not sitting through this.
Fast forward, something. Yeah. So, honestly, the reason why that's so important is because you're going to lose revenue. So once those people check out because your presenter that you just spent $30,000, that's a lot, but it happens.
It does.
When you bring in that presenter and you haven't coached them and prepared them to stay on message and talk about problems and solutions that your organization is solving in town or in your audience base, you're going to lose revenue because people's attention disappears. An example is if you're hosting a virtual fundraising event and you have a speaker whose name has huge recognition, but you don't do the hard work of aligning that message with the wants and problems of your audience, just like I just said. A bunch of people show up, but their attention is redirected to non-relevant messaging. And it is far more important to it's far more difficult to connect with a virtual audience, which means every word, every slide, every moment must be laser focused.
Barrier to entry of staying on focus is way higher.
Way higher. I'm going to throw out this example model. I'll let you see it here, Will. We just gave an example model of a potential program with your great presenter, the programming that talks about, that uses words and messaging that holds your audience. So laser focus, first 10 minutes, laser focus on the want and the problems. The second 10 minutes, define the authority. How are you positioned to help your audience navigate the problems and those solutions that you're bringing to the table? Then 15 minutes, you bring in a presenter that is on message, on point with messaging. And then you present a plan, a clear path for attendees to make a difference, make a decision, make a difference. And then finally, in the last 5 minutes of your event, a call to action. Very simple call to action, not 5 steps. I know this is 7 steps to a successful event, but that's not a call to action. A call to action would be us saying at the end to text us or email us. But you need to have a very simple step. Go to this website, pick up the paper on the table and fill out your donation. Any thoughts on this?
Dude, why not start with plan and TTA? Why wouldn't you start with that? Why wouldn't you skip the authority and the problem and just go straight to plan? I mean, if you're trying to get things fast, like just tell me the plan, right?
Yeah. Right.
Why is that an issue though?
Because I don't understand the problem.
Yeah, you don't know what the plan is here for.
Right. Why
you don't
is
know
it
what issues it's solving.
Exactly.
And if you skip the authority part, I don't know why the heck I should listen to you either.
Trust you. Yep. These are most of these, not all of these. Most of these are elements from the StoryBrand marketing framework, which you can check out online. You can contact us. We're a StoryBrand certified agency, and we'd love to take you through that. We'd love to help you understand why these steps are so important. So be clear. Show your authority, make sure your presenter is on message, have a plan that you lay out, whether the presenter lays out the plan or whether you lay out the plan right after the presenter gets off the stage, and have a clear call to action. Let's jump to number 5, people track with stories. We're still on number 5. People track with stories. So this is one of my favorite points. I don't know how I so quickly almost ran over this one. Write an event program that looks more like a narrative than a spreadsheet. Will, do you like spreadsheets?
Love-hate, man. I like Monday.com, which is like the modern version of a spreadsheet.
But when it comes to an event, if your event is a spreadsheet, you probably haven't done the narrative part of your event.
It's so easy to default into run of shows and logistics and say, okay, well, we're going to piece this here. Blah, blah, blah. But if you don't take the step back on a whiteboard level and actually giving a story arc to it that will land effectively with your people, you're really just missing a boat.
Yeah, and I don't want anyone to think that we're saying don't have a spreadsheet of your run of show. That's not the point.
Of course.
You need a spreadsheet with your run of show, but very few people take a step back, like you just said, and they go, I want you to go literally write a story. Like type out a 800-word story of your event as to what you want the audience to see, feel, hear, experience, and do. Write literally an article or a story about your event. Imagine a journalist being in the back of the room and writing out the event. You should literally go stop planning your event, go sit down and write a story or an article about your event, then go put the spreadsheet together. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so easy for the doers to start doing, but you have to start with why you're there in the first place.
Oh, so important. We're going to get to Will's favorite part next. Actually, I shouldn't say that. The next one is technology, but I would say, Will, the catalyst or the change that you and I have personally experienced in the last year is that we care far more about the words and the programming now than we do about the actual technology behind
absolutely. I mean, we were talking the other day, and we were talking about some specific video elements of a video that, like, it's going to be important to show the narrative of what we're doing. But it's honestly not that important if we have the sexiest B-roll of just the right perfect shots. What ultimately matters is if we got the words right with the person when we were doing the talking heads. And I think the biggest connection with all of that personally helped me a lot, because I kind of came up as a technician and as a doer. But I learned pretty early on via working with you, partnering with Story Brand and helping a bunch of clients is that, man, almost anyone can be a doer. They're way easier to find, but the people that actually are seeing success and actually helping people make money are the ones that focus on that secondarily. And start by saying, what is the right things to say? Start with your why, figure out the correct words that then lead you to what your goals are. And that is infinitely more valuable than whatever technicals you know. You can be certified in whatever Adobe programs you want or whatever Microsoft programs you want. That is not nearly as valuable of a characteristic in an employee as if they could come in and they could say, hey, here's our problem. Here's a plan. Here's the solution. Here's how you say it in a very short and effective way. Now go.
It's great. It's incredible. And it's so, I've seen him grow. I've grown personally.
Absolutely.
Literally, I have grown significantly in this, and it's almost as if you say you hired us to bring technology to do your virtual event. We don't look at that as the important thing anymore. We look at
that's super secondary.
So when someone asks us to work on their virtual event with them, we literally say, "Whoa, we're not into technology yet." We're basically, these 7 steps is how we approach a virtual event. We want to know why you're doing this event. What are the words? What's the message? Who's your audience? What do they want? And we ask those questions because that's far more important. The technology is in many ways is the easiest part.
We're working with a non-for-profit client in Chattanooga right now to produce a monthly show. So they came to us, say, hey, help us make this technically and visually come to life. 50% of the budget. 50% of the budget went to figuring out the right words in the front.
That's good.
Literally 50% of my budget went to sitting down and figuring out the words to say for this program.
If you can take anything away from this webinar, it is that invest in words and messaging and programming before you invest in technology. The technology is important and it costs money. And because of 9 minutes left on the clock here, we're going to jump to step 6, which is technology. Choose and deploy the simplest technology based on budget and capacity. I'm going to say it again. You have it in front of you, hopefully, but choose and deploy the simplest technology based on budget and capacity. So once you have a firm grasp on 1 through 5, then you can move to technology. And even though this step is really, really important, it can become the biggest point of failure.
Absolutely.
But too many brands are spending too much time figuring out how to go live on event day, and we're live right now. But I would say we don't really recommend live. In many cases, we feel comfortable because it's what we do. But most organizations are not. They're just simply not ready to go live.
I would say one of the biggest points of failure in organizations right now trying to communicate effectively is the visionary leader not getting realistic with methods and standards to do this. The visionary leader goes, I want this to look sexy. I want this to look big. I want it to be live in your face. I want the 4-camera setup. I want the gorgeous lighting. I want the this, and this.
I want that thing I saw.
It's always so-and-so did this, so let's do that. All good things in their own nature and in their own right. But inherently, if you're pushing your organization past its limits, oftentimes it's either your human resource, your human capital, or your actual capital. So either you don't have enough people to do it effectively, or you don't have the money to do it effectively. You try to push things too far,
that
and
train
you reach a
gets
point of
off
failure.
the rails
Absolutely.
so fast.
And I mean, I think I personally, I can say that every big leader that we've partnered with in an organization, I've seen it happen. I've seen every leader do the, I want that shiny thing over there, because you want your organization to look and be great. And so you say, hey, my people, go do this thing. It's sexy, it's shiny. I've seen it over there. Go do it. And it's the easiest way to really quickly reach points of failures. And all of that to say, simplest and for where you're at is the key to success.
The key. And part of simple is honestly pre-recording.
Yeah, absolutely.
This has probably been the biggest point of pushback we've seen in the last couple of years, couple of months. Gosh, it feels like years. It feels like years. One of the biggest points of pushback is encouraging clients to pre-record as much as possible. And honestly, I was against it in our very first virtual event post or during pandemic. I was like, no, this needs to feel live. And now I'm like, I can't believe I thought that, because it can still be live. You can still post this live and you can still engage and talk and do all that, but get as much of it pre-recorded as possible. I promise. I can't get into all the whys. It will help you.
One why.
So go give them a why.
At the end of the day, the one why is you can control so much more when something's pre-recorded versus when it's live. If your power goes out, you're screwed. If your internet goes out, you're screwed. If someone says something they shouldn't have said, you're gone.
If someone's line on their keynote is wrong, I could have gone back and fixed it.
We could have fixed that in post if we had recorded this. We could have, or if we were hiring a company to help us with this, we could have paid them to
reshot that line.
Reshot it, but you can't do it when it's live.
Gonna give you, moving on from my embarrassing moment, gonna give you 5 platforms that we would recommend that we've used or we've seen people use.
Hey, you have the 5th one. That one should be first. It's StreamYard.
Okay. Well, you see number 5, flip it on its head, and number 5 should be first, because are they watching on StreamYard right now?
They're probably watching on YouTube via StreamYard. So StreamYard, it's almost, what's the other platform that's not in the video world that just makes your life easier? That's similar, like Amazon. It just makes it easier. There you go. Amazon connects you with individual products. StreamYard is ultimately the source of shipping out your products to your individual platforms.
And you don't need to download an app. You don't need to have you don't need like a big expensive piece of equipment to do it. You could literally do it with Google Chrome and an iPhone, right?
I have a passion to share cool things with people. I love cool technical solutions. There has not been a single person that I've shown StreamYard to and they haven't gone, oh, crap, this is awesome.
Don't tell our friends at CO.LAB or Startup Week if we get this wrong, but do I remember that Startup Week is going to use StreamYard for certain elements?
We showed it to them and they said, holy crap, this is awesome.
Yes, I remember CO.LAB was like, wow. And so you may be seeing some of Startup Week using it. So some of the simple ones are Facebook, Zoom, YouTube Live, live stream.
And I would say of those, Zoom and Facebook are the ones that we've seen the most and are the simplest.
I think, personally speaking, if you have someone that's even at a intermediate level on technology, StreamYard should be your solution.
It's so simple.
And it's clean, it's beautiful. It does have a bunch of customization options, but you can also just make it clean and simple. So that's really, really important. And last, just for the sake of time, we're under the 4-minute mark now. The last thing you should do is promote your event clearly, both pre-event and live event. And I wish I could we could talk about this for hours because it's what we do, right?
There's nothing that sucks more than putting a ton of energy into an event
and you don't promote it.
And it wasn't promoted well. And so no one shows up. There's nothing worse than that.
Literally nothing. And sometimes some of the clients that we work with, they don't use us for the promotion part. They just use us for the live part. And we've learned that it's just better if we help with the pre and the live for so many different reasons. There's cohesion, there's messaging, seamlessness to it. But you need to have the same team, if possible, doing both. And pre-event, there's 2 major categories in pre-event promotion. There is the organic side, which is like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and you're just posting fun content and videos, native content to the apps. But there's also the paid side, which is maybe as important, if not more important.
I would say it's far more important.
Yeah, a lot of people would say that too. And I would definitely agree with that. Just some people don't have the budget to do a bunch of paid media, but you should invest in paid media. But there's some science/art. That sounds so strange to put them in the same line, but there's some science and art to paid media, whether that's on YouTube ads or Facebook or Instagram ads or Twitter ads. Like, you've got to have the creative and the science. They have to merge together. You've seen great ads on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and you've seen terrible ads on them. So we can't go into it too deeply today. We would be happy to help you or happy to point you in the right direction and how to find that information. But
real quick before you go on, most overlooked thing about pre-event promotion. Do you know what I'm thinking? It's freaking email campaigns, dude.
Oh gosh, thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that. That is probably
it's the most boring format in the world. Most important. Clark,
speaking of technology, I'm glad it happened in the last 2 minutes. Tessa, our executive producer, creative director back there. Whether or not are we back up? Do we have?
I don't know.
Keynote?
It's on our A cam. If
Keynote's
it's not,
back.
So we're good.
Okay, great. So sorry about that. The HDMI cable went out because of my foot. But here's the thing: promote pre and live. When we say live, this is how we'll wrap. One of the things that we are most known for is making great events look great online. And that is going to the event and telling stories about experiences at events. And you can still do it at a virtual event.
Absolutely.
For the first couple months of the pandemic, we were like, well, we're not going to go back to live events for a long time. But we've actually had a bunch of clients this year hire us to come to their virtual event to document and tell stories behind the scenes. Because what are people doing on their phone?
They're ignoring their first screen.
They're ignoring
they're scrolling
this
Instagram
screen,
on the second screen.
And they're on their phone looking at the content.
Absolutely.
And so if we can help the client, or you can help yourself by producing second screen content for the virtual event, you're gonna win in the end.
Absolutely.
Man, that felt good to say it that way.
That was great.
You're gonna win in the end. If they have any questions or thoughts, how should they reach out to us? Which number?
Which number?
I'm going to pop out of here real quick. The 615 number?
Is the 615 sideline?
All right. How about just on Instagram?
There we go.
Let's give you a challenge. It's at RVRB Agency, at Reverb Agency. Tessa is actually probably going to pop this up on the screen because she's just
pop something up.
She's just that good.
You can reach us on Instagram. You can email us through our website. If you want to text a number, I'm sure Tessa's going to put this up on the screen. I'm going to say it 3 times so that she has the time to do it. 423-445-7534. 423-445-7534. You can text us that number and we'll be able to talk to you. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we like to help people.
We would absolutely love to help you. Yeah, clarify your message and find the right technology. We hope you have a successful startup week. We hope that you clarify your message, even though you don't have much time left. We hope that you connect with your audiences who are watching, because in the end, we don't want you to confuse because you'll lose. We want you to clarify your message. Clarify your message. So customers,
so that you can connect with people and make money.
Thank you for watching. Thank you, CO.LAB and Startup Week, for inviting us to do this. Those are 7 steps to hosting a successful virtual event. Have an amazing Tuesday.